Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hold on just 1 second? I'll be right back.
Yep.
Okay, I'm back. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good
Morning.
morning.
Caleb, world traveler.
Yeah,
Hey, been a busy few days.
I'm not
Now I'm
jealous,
trying to.
just so you know. I'm not jealous.
I was gonna say I'm trying to jam my day job into the morning and the nights now.
Mhm.
Oh, Ye- well, I think this is going to be your next year or so, Kevin. So it's this is a dress
It's training.
rehearsal.
We're
Yeah,
training you until the convention, and then yeah, you're lucky. You get a couple of months of training.
it's like FIM 2.0.
Yeah. That is. Well,
Yeah,
Pat's done a good job of setting me up with the foundation of what I'm supposed to say, and then I just make the rest up.
So Kevin is now the interim president of the WAFC, Matt, and so he's had to do some traveling for us the last like couple of weeks.
Very good.
Good morning.
Congratulations.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
We
Good
have
morning.
we have a special guest with us today.
It's only because I'm here and I popped in and I'm squatting.
You're squatting.
Can you feel the burn, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he's concerned after last meeting. The past elders asked him to sit in. No, I'm just
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm the youngest of all the old guys. So
We did share, we just had a board meeting last week as at Trina, as you know, and shared that we are changing the organization name and it went over well. So
Oh, good.
that was just a joke of Mike's, but it did go over well.
Good. Good morning,
And
everyone.
Morning.
hey, good
Good
morning.
morning. Go ahead, Andrea.
I know we need every minute today because Pat and I got the privilege of doing a dry run with Trina earlier this week, and we do need every minute. You might have all noticed our attendance is a little down. We have had a few people that needed to drop out at the last minute. You know, our industry always has something going on that distracts people. And then there might be a person or two joining a little bit late, and then and we got people that need to drop off early. So a lot of dynamics going on, but here's our game plan. Christy and I were able to connect just briefly before the call. What we would like to do is I am recording this session, and so we will record the session. I'll share it out. And then Trina, if afterwards we'll regroup, we'll follow up with an email and allow people to look at the information and vote independently, and we'll collect all the information as we can.
That sounds perfect.
Which-
Thank you, Andrea.
We had planned some follow up anyway. It's just a little more informal now.
Yes. Should we get going? Are we waiting? I know you said a few.
Yep.
Okay. We'll dive in.
Okay.
Like you said, we do need all the time. So, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you all. On the call, new face from the Trina team, Matt Bachman. I want to introduce him. He's our our chief strategy officer. And he has been riding shotgun with Sage through the strategy and messaging efforts that we've completed to date. And so now we're switching seats, and Matt's heading up the naming effort. Sage is still involved. You'll see her on the call. But Matt will be walking us through the presentation, and he has a lot of setup and prep to do for that. So I'll just go ahead and hand it over to Matt.
Thanks, Christy. Good morning, everyone. Can we all see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Great. And let's see if it advances to agenda.
Yes.
All right. The technology is out of the way. So as Christy mentioned, we have a packed agenda for today. I will try to accelerate some of the setup and other language around some of the presentation today, just to try to get some more time at the end, maybe for discussion and in case people need to drop off early. But our plan for the day is to quickly walk through some considerations that Trina made as we went through our ideation process. And this will provide some good context to the team as to why we're showing what we're showing today. We'll then walk through the individual name candidates that we have prepared for the team to consider, and then we'll do kind of a recap and discussion around those candidates. We'll leave you with best practices and next steps as needed. And so that's kind of the agenda for today. If there aren't any questions, and if there are, just holler. We'll just roll right into considerations. Okay, so part of our process is to work on a naming brief, if you will, before we dive into ideation of names. And WAFC was kind enough to provide some very detailed information on that brief that helped give us good guidance as we went through this process. One of the questions that we asked were, what theme or themes should our new name try to convey? And the three themes that were identified were transformation, growth, education, learning, leadership, and connectivity, partnership, collective. And we were happy to see those names. They were mapping very closely to the strategy that Sage and Trina had been working on previously. So you had our heads nodding. That was a good thing to see. And we'll come back to themes in a minute. We also, in that brief, provided a wide variety of different sample names. These were names that we just came up with real quickly off the top of our head, or even pulled from the internet. Most of them already exist in the world with another organization. And we just asked for some sentiment, some preferences around those names. Not every name was commented on, but those that were, we were able to categorize into green. Okay, these are names that are closer to maybe what the association is looking for. Red, not so much. And then yellow, conceptually maybe close, but not maybe the right word for us. And so we took that to heart as well. That was a very good guidance for our team as we went through our process. And then finally, when it came to the brief, we just simply asked, what criteria will you be using to judge the ideal name for WAFC? And the criteria that came back to us, let's walk through that real quick. The ideal name would be warm, inviting, approachable, confident. It would have energy and passion, inclusive, long-lasting, ability to grow, easy to understand, attention grabbing. Those all seem very like logical choices to us. And then you asked us to avoid certain things as well. Long names, because people have a tendency to then start to abbreviate. Things that were limiting, such as grocery or food or Western in our name. Names that are too abstract or coined, made up. Those require marketing spend to explain. Acronyms, we've been there and done that, and a link to the past. You guys were looking for kind of a reset, something fresh, which again is great. Our observation here is that's a long list though of criteria. And if you've been through a naming project in the recent years, you'll know that we live in a very busy world where anyone can stand up a business on the web and a website in minutes. There's a million podcasts and apps out there. And so what we need to do is navigate that world. And there's a company called Saffron, they're a brand consultancy that I think really sets it up nicely. So I'm going to read this quote to everyone. Naming is becoming harder and harder, with clients struggling to get hold of their first choice names. There are simply fewer names available, with internet and trademark processes increasingly mature and sophisticated. Brands will need to be more open to coining completely new names, combining two words together, or taking roots to form new ideas, which can seem scary, but the harsh reality of today is that simple good names are becoming more rare. And Trina certainly met up with that harsh reality as we went through this process. There were literally hundreds of names that we kicked out because we felt like it wasn't ownable for the association. So what is my point? The point is today you're very familiar with WAFC, and it feels familiar. And anything that we suggest today that replaces WAFC is going to feel a little uncomfortable, perhaps, a little unfamiliar. And so just keep an open mind. A good way to think about this is a name can't do everything, but it should do one thing well. And that's a nice framing as we go through the process today. We also know that we need a deep pool of candidates in order to get to that short list. And so today we're going to share with you 26 options. Because we're showing 26, we're going to go fairly quickly in our presentation of those options. And they're going to be aligned by those three themes that WAFC identified in the brief. So 3 categories. In each category, we're going to start with more straightforward names, those that you might expect. And then, because we do live in a crowded world, we're going to get a little more inventive, a little more creative, and show you those towards the end of each category. Our cadence basically is a 3-step process. We'll reveal the candidate. We'll provide very brief substantiation just on why we think it may have potential. And then on screen, in fairly small type, that might be intentional, we have a bunch of trademark screening, URL availability. That's all very pertinent information. It's just not as pertinent today as actually sharing the names and having that discussion around the brand's title. So, and we can circle back and talk about any of those details as needed after we get through our presentation. And so that's the process. We'll repeat that for each name, those 3 steps. My recommendation is hold discussion until all the names are shared, and I'll try to walk through these fairly quick order. And then you don't have to memorize all options. At the end of today, we'll have a slide that has all the options in 3 categories on a single slide for easy comparison and contrast. Okay, so that was a lot. Any questions?
Yeah, a quick question. Before we get into it, we had discussed with Pat that you also do a quick setup of how we should think about these because it is very subjective. Are you going to do that before or after the name considerations?
I think we should do that after the name considerations. Okay. I don't want to really force anyone in any particular direction. Any other questions? Okay. All right. So let's get started. And we're going to start with our first category, and that's transformation and growth. And you'll quickly see how the cadence unfolds here. Okay, so option 1, what if we were attainable? Transforming lives through learning. So you'll see that we've locked up attainable with the tagline, and that format will be shared through all options today. Now, what do we like about attainable? Well, attainable really reinforces the kind of accessibility, the accessible claims in our messaging. And it also just has this interesting dynamic where it feels empowering, optimistic. Things are attainable, especially with us. But it's not also too lofty. There's a practicality to it. Like, we can help you do this. And then you'll see URL availability in the bottom left and ownership alongside. And you'll see that we do have some URL availability, and it's mostly clear in our searching. And that's the cadence here that we'll repeat now for our other options. So option 1, attainable. Option 2, we are growth curve. Here, what we like about this is it kind of paints that mental picture of your traditional chart, if you will, kind of up and to the right. We're speaking to results. We're speaking to growth, transformation, that hockey stick, if you will, even subtly suggesting financial progress, which isn't a bad thing, as that's mentioned in our messaging platform as well. Growth curve. It's relatively clear on our searching as well. Okay, option 3, we are bountiful. This just has a really good feel to it, speaking to our limitless discovery and prosperity that we speak to in our strategic platform. And it's a nice, adjective that's commonly associated with food without saying food. Okay, option 4, different approach. We are traction. Here with traction, we like that just all of the associations that you can build with traction, including conveying momentum, advancement, very complementary to being a launch pad, realizing potential, emerging talent, gaining traction. Okay, option 5, admittedly one of our longer options of the day. We are abundant futures. Abundant futures really underscores kind of that life-changing impact, the impact we're making on the future. Abundant also is a nice word associated with food, again, without saying food. And we thought, there might be even an opportunity that over time to kind of change the meaning behind WAFC's conference to Way to Abundant Futures Conference to tie in our brand name. Okay, something different here. Option 6, we are Viridian. Now here, Viridian, the meaning here originates from verdant, which means green and growing, which is a nice association for us, to food, and veritas, meaning truth, a nice association to learning and wisdom. But even if you didn't come to the table with that knowledge or backstory, Viridian just has a very strong, good vibe to it without kind of being overly masculine or techie. So we see a lot of potential in Viridian. All right. Sometimes it's good to use a metaphor. This option 7, we are life ladder. And ladder, again, paints that image of moving up, taking steps, growth. It also broadens our position quite wide through the use of life. So it's more than just career. Option 8, we are growth spark. We love the notion of spark. Spark positions us as a catalyst. Catalyst for those starting out, feeling stuck or craving growth, as our messaging speaks to. It's also suggestive of the impact on our industry and our industry's success, and that we are a spark. Okay, 2 more in this category, becoming more inventive and creative here. We are futurefold. A futurefold was derived to kind of a play off of tenfold, suggesting multiple or being a multiplier of opportunity. And just the term itself, futurefold, kind of immediately takes us from maybe the past to something that feels much more innovative in a more modern space. And we couldn't help ourselves. We thought, well, maybe our conference becomes the world-class annual Future Fold conference. And our last option here in category 1, also a coined term, we are ambitional. And here we like how ambitional really kind of, it's almost like an appeal to those who have ambition, and that we can partner with them to advance their careers. And also speaks to us as an association, as a collective, what we're doing. It's ambitious, it's significant, and has real impact. And that concludes category 1. Those were 10 options. We have 9 options now that lean into a little more towards that educational, learning, and leadership piece. Our first option, we are skill feed. Here, we like this as it has a very active, almost a nurturing quality. Like we're behind the scenes, we're nurturing you through helping you learn skills for the future. And feed obviously is a subtle or not so subtle nod to our industry. Second option here, we are learning field. Now, what we like about learning field is it creates that mental image of a field, an open field of, really endless possibility. And there are some potential alts we could also consider here, learning fields, plural, or if we wanted to emphasize a little bit more of that real world application of our learning, we could actually flip those words, field learning. But we did feel that learning field was the strongest of those options. Okay. Option 3 here, we are aptitude. And this speaks to really more than the learning, the knowledge, but applying that knowledge. And really that emphasizes a lot of the outcome of our efforts, that we give folks the aptitude to advance their career, to apply new skills. Okay, continuing on our learning category, we are fresh thinking. Now, fresh is really a double entendre here. Fresh kind of conveying that, hey, what we're offering here is very modern. This is today's curriculum that you need to know. And then fresh also providing a strong association to food. Okay, maybe a cousin to skill feed. This one is skill bound. Skill bound does a few things that maybe skill feed doesn't do, and that is that bound piece really speaks to shaping the future, looking ahead, being very positive and forward thinking. Bound also kind of is a subtle nod to our association, our partnership, our collective. Getting a little more creative here, we are supermarks. And that was inspired by supermarkets, but a lot of meaning to unpack here, with super being a nice word that kind of alludes to or champion, ties to champions. You have marks, which ties to both getting grades, like getting my marks in school, and making an impact. And then overall, just the notion of supermarks suggesting success. Some more wordplay on this next option. We are industry wise. So what we like about this one is it really positions the organization as a leadership position, and that you know the industry inside and out. But it also speaks then to kind of that real world knowledge that we're helping to facilitate. Your why is about the industry. And it says education and learning without saying education and learning through the use of whys. Okay, 2 more to go in this category. The first being a coined term. We are Elevant. Inspired by Elevate, speaks to uplifting and elevating an industry and the professionals in that industry. And it's a very nice complement. Even though it's a coined term, it pairs nicely with messages.
Hey, Matt, you accidentally muted.
That's so funny. Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. So with just to recap on Elevant, a variation on Elevate, and a nice complement to many of the themes that we're seeking to express in the new brand. And then our last candidate in this category, we put this last. It's not a coined or abstract or anything, but it was one that we provided in the sample deck that we actually think has potential for ownership, and that's feeding minds. That one needs almost no explanation, but it really quickly conveys the educational focus. It's very active and certainly ties back to the industry. So that's our education focused. Hang in there with me. One more category to go. This is our shortest category here. I think we have 7 options now. And these are connectivity, partnership, collective, inspired by those themes. Okay, we are unison. Here, really emphasizing partnership, collaboration, working together, working in unison. Has a very nice, positive, and optimistic feel. Very succinct as well. Different approach would be we are opportunity bridge. And here, opportunity is just such a large container that really is nicely referring to or emphasizing all the opportunities that the association creates through partnerships, through industry synergy, through educational possibilities. All the opportunities we cultivate, and then bridge being that obviously connective piece. Okay, what if we were Pathmaker? Again, we're suggesting that we're collaborating together here to provide paths that maybe are beyond the traditional, that are maybe difficult to achieve on our own. And there's also an opportunity here where we could think about being path makers, plural. Now, this next candidate is kind of similar. We are aisleways. So here we're suggesting of pathways, but with that added use of aisle, which is a nice callback to the industry. We also see that the word ways can also connote means, as in how to do this, how to succeed in the aisle. And you could even make the argument there's a kind of a subtle nod of crossing the aisle, of competing brands coming together to work together. We could also consider capitalizing that W to emphasize the ways piece as well. And there's some alts to consider: aisle way, singular, or even learning aisle or aisles. All right, 3 more to go here. We are aperture. So here, building upon this notion of opening possibilities, revealing new opportunities, new ideas. Another metaphor here, we are keychain. Keychain, obviously, being a collective of something, right? A collective of keys to success and opening doors. And we are that collective. And our final option under the connectivity is a coined term. We are Optivants. And this one has a lot of potential just for what it can be associated with in terms of opportunity, optimization, advancement. Just feels modern and active. It's a nice, strong feel to it. And so I know that was a lot in a very short amount of time. And we have placed all of those options on screen for you today. And Andrea, I don't know if we want to deploy the quick link to capture feedback. I would love to do that if possible. We've prepared a Google form. It's anonymous. It's your secret ballot. I can drop that into a chat. And if you would click on that, it just gives you an opportunity to pick what are your top 5 or up to 5. We would ask that you limit it to 5. And this gives us kind of an early look at maybe what's resonating with the team. If everyone's open to that, I will drop that into the chat and we can look at the results real time.
Hey, Matt, go ahead, Rebecca.
Do you want us to prioritize them, Matt? Not just vote, but do we get to prioritize or not?
No priority at this point. We're
Okay.
we're just looking for general sentiment at this point, Rebecca.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not as familiar with Teams, so I'm looking for the chat.
You can find it up at the top of your screen next to where it says people. It's like the third
One
over.
from the left.
I have it, Matt. I can drop in the form link.
Can you do so? Thank you so much.
Just
Matt?
just did.
Because before you share the results, because we're missing so many people that did want to participate but is unable to, can we, well, let me ask you how you'd like to do this. I would like for them to have the opportunity to see the recording and vote as well. Can we either not share the results, or
That's
I could
fine.
stop recording and you could share the results, one of the two.
How much time do we have left? We have a fair amount of time. Let's stop the recording and share the results.
Okay. And before we do that, is there a way to pop the link up on the screen so that those that are going to watch the recording, oh, you know what? I'll send it out with the recording. I'll put it in an email.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I am going to stop the recording now. Is there any part of the presentation you would like others to see before we stop the recording? Is there any reason for me to wait?
I think we're okay.
Okay.